some. Oh, thanks, Kathy. I'll start with just some information to kick off the meeting, and then we'll get going with James and Kalinda here to start us out with AFS. We'll have three pitches tonight. You can see on my screen, we've got James starting, Jack will be second, and then second Jack with Nate will be the last pitch. So three pitches tonight. Expect about 30 minutes for each group to pitch. 15 minutes for pitching, 15 minutes for questions from the group. And then at the end, we'll ask the founders of the companies to jump off, and then we'll have kind of an internal discussion if there is some with the members at the end. So I'll cue everybody when that time is there. But to start out, I am going to run through just a really quick set of slides here just to get everybody kind of on the same page on what Countryside Angels is and kind of our structure and how we perform. So this is just kind of a quick shot here to see where we're at. We've done about 15 deals now since I believe 2019, which was before I came here, but we're approximately 80 members. Average deal size that we usually pull together is around $150,000 per company with a total member investment of $2.3 million. So we're really starting to roll with this group. We've really increased the number of deals we've done the last few years, and it's fun to see. So if you guys are interested in this and you have friends or colleagues or other people that also might be interested in what we're doing, please invite them or send them my way and I can inform them of kind of what we're doing. So real quick, member benefits, lower minimum investment than you otherwise would have to do if you were to invest directly in a company. Our minimum is 10,000, and I'll get more into that here in a minute. This has access to Ag Ventures deal flow. So Spencer and I and the Ag Ventures team, we see many deals throughout the year, and we kind of funnel those down to ones that we really like. And some of those might then make it to the Countryside Angel pitches on a quarterly basis. And so we feel that we probably give you guys some pretty interesting opportunities, hopefully good opportunities. There's hopefully some value in that. We do provide updates. We're trying to get on a quarterly update cadence with the growth and the number of companies that we have. Sometimes that can be delayed, but we try to keep you updated. And then when you're a Countryside Angel member, you also become a member of Angel Capital Association, which has a lot of really good resources. And ask us if you want to learn more about that. One other quick thing, portfolio construction. We should talk about this more than we do. And if you have questions on this, please reach out. But just as a reminder, the companies that we typically work with are very early stage, meaning they're typically high risk. And a good percentage of them are going to go to zero. And that's just the nature of the business with the venture capital space that we work in. So really, if you're interactive with us or you're investing as an angel with us or with other companies outright, it is important to try to build a portfolio to give yourself more chances, more shots on goal. It's very similar to VC, where very few of the investments will pay back the entire portfolio in a lot of cases. So just a reminder there, we can talk more about that if you're interested. And so I already hit that. I did want to just mention the deal structure and how we typically form these deals. So if we have enough interest from the group, we will form an LLC specifically for that investment. It'll be called the Countryside Angels Some Number LLC. So then we collect the funds from those investors that are interested, and we write one check then out to the startup company. And that's typically how that works. Management structure, wanted to lay this out as well. This is how we operate the Countryside Angel Group. Ag Ventures takes a $7,000 management fee up front to cover legal fees and formation documents, as well as yearly tax expenses with these entities. And then AGVA also has a 10% carried interest in any gains over and above the investor's original investment amount. Um, so that's the structure of this deal. This is pretty typical, and wanted to run through that. And again, if you guys have questions and we want to talk more about this at the end or specific questions, feel free to get a hold of me or Spencer, and we can continue to kind of build on this. So that was really fast. I wanted to be timely, but Spencer, is there anything else you wanted to hit on there or?
I think you did a great job on that, Jordan.
Okay.
Uh, we just try to cover some of these things because there's always some new people that are coming in, and if we don't hit it at every meeting, then you may have joined at a previous meeting and haven't heard it. So we like to cover that every once in a while to make sure everyone's on the same page.
Yeah. All right. Well, great. So we will kick it off then with AFS. So James and Kalinda, however you guys want to go ahead with presenting this, feel free to share.
Okay, I'm going to try to share my screen, make sure I do this right, guys.
Okay.
Let's see, share screen. Let me see here. Whiteboard, probably. I'm assuming. Now they gave me a bunch of options, but we'll see what happens here.
Should have practiced this.
Well,
Yeah, I've got
I
you back.
covered myself by making sure. I've never done it on the Zoom one before. I sent Jordan the thing if we have to get it to him. Share screen, share. There's what I need. 1 second. Let's see here. Okay, everybody see it?
Perfect. Good job.
There we go. Okay. Yeah, let me see. I gotta hide this just 1 second here. Let's go up here. Okay. Guys, welcome to Advanced Farming Systems presentation. I am one of the owners, James Bates, and the other owners on the call, Kalinda Long. A very, very quick bio about me and Kalinda. I'm just going to do it quickly. We've both been in ag since we've been born. Kalinda's ran her own businesses. Her dad is an incredible businessman. And I grew up on a farm in Nebraska, seen the dirty 80s and worked for some of the major companies like Monsanto and AgriLiquid and Compass Minerals. But the presentation is worth more than that. If you guys enjoy the presentation, we can catch up on who we are after this. We have 4 sales reps right now in the state of North Carolina: Brian Witt, Tony James, Walt Britt, Chris Naylor. And we have 2 biologist consultants on staff that are awesome, incredible guys, Sasha Peggs and Gus Pillman. So I'm going to jump in here and get down to what I want to show you guys. There's what I need to do. I need to get rid of this thing right here. There we go. We are the first foliar biological for inoculation of endophyte beneficial fungus. Okay, and I'm going to say that again. It's a foliar biological for endophyte beneficial fungus. We are very unique to the industry. Our product is called Oxit. It's on the left. That's our label. We are patent pending, and at the top, you'll see we have a trademark on Oxit. And Kalinda was very big in making those 2 things happen for our company. We are a foliar biological applied at post-herbicide. So I want to go in with your Roundup and atrazine applications, and we are all over the state of North Carolina already. We are beneficial leaf fungus. We are not mycorrhiza. Mycorrhiza live in the roots. We are endophyte fungus, if you want to look it up and what they are. The industry is just starting to look into the leaves. When inoculated, Oxit induces growth hormone production, reduces drought stress, and we're going to zone in on that, and increases organic acid production. We have data back from biological companies showing our data. We are at a rate of 1 quart per acre at post herbicide with your Roundup and atrazine, Halix GT, whatever you guys are putting out there, and we cost $28.50 an acre. We've tested that price point, and the farmers have no problem with that by the way we perform. Whoops. So first thing we're gonna zone in on is drought tolerance, and there's 3 steps for drought tolerance, and then we're going to see some pictures on how that worked last year through North Carolina's drought. So Oxid inoculates plant leaves with beneficial endophyte fungus that post herbicide. Corn and soybeans, we want to inoculate those plants from 6 to 18 inches in crop height. The closer to 6 inches, the happier I am. The beneficial fungus turn on genes in the plant to produce high salicylic acid or produce it themselves. The scientists, don't know which one is working, but they say it's irrelevant. You're producing high salicylic acid. So salicylic acid, it's a kind of a funny name, primes the plant for drought tolerance. That's from all the biologists around the nation. 1 week after inoculation, you will see strong color and growth in the plant, even in tough growing conditions. And we really had them here in North Carolina and got some wow effects in the field from after applying our product a week later. Okay, so guys, this is data from a company called BioMakers, and they do biological testing on biologicals. And on the left side is us applied through the leaves. And you will notice that oxen, and I got to slow down. Once applied, 6 weeks later, we take a soil test around the roots and send it into BioMakers, and they tell us what is going on in that plant and in the soil. So on the left, 6 weeks after application, we sent in the test, and we had very high growth hormone production up there on your left. Auxin, cytokines, gibberellins, and the field looked like it too. But the two organic acids that I want you guys to kind of focus on down there on the bottom half of all that blue is salicylic acid production. That's the one that primes plants for drought. We had very high salicylic acid production and cytophore production. That's what breaks down iron and zinc in the soil and pulls it into the plant. And that's where we start getting that deep dark green really fast when we apply our beneficial fungus to leaves. On the right, we stuck the biological in furrow. And 6 weeks later, we came back and tried to inoculate the roots with it. 6 weeks later, came back, did the test, sent it to BioMakers. The field didn't look good, and it proved out on their test. Growth hormone production was low. We did not get the plant inoculated. So in short, on this slide, what I'm telling you is the issue in the industry is not with biologicals. The problem in the industry is how to get the plant inoculated. Everybody knows biologicals work, and there's big yields to be had there. They can't get the plants inoculated at a high percentage. Usually 20 to 30% is the highest inoculation rates I'll hear in the industry when they try it in furrow or on a seed treatment. And I hope I don't go too fast, but Jordan's got me on a clock here, so I'll keep boogieing. Okay.
You're doing good.
Okay. Guys, this is we're going to see a lot of these pictures this is Freddie Dobb, one of our customers, and he went through 6 weeks of no rain. And so this picture was taken October 1st after the drought. And we harvested this field. We waited. I was out there. There was a dairy close that we weighed everything. That field right behind us went right at 62 bushels an acre. Where we did our check is 38 bushels an acre. And that's with 6 weeks of no rain. And I know it's kind of hard to see in the picture, but at the end of the season, there was no stress on those plants at all from fungus, from bacteria. They were clean and grew extremely well through that drought. So we're going to go see the check now as we move on. On your left-hand side of this picture is a 38 bushels. That's what a 38 bushel, if you guys have been around ag and farmers, that the soybeans stopped growing. They went in, to survival mode. They were short, and I'm going to jump back and forth in between slides here. That picture down at the right, that's from that 38 bushel an acre field. It did not branch. It did not keep growing through the drought, and thus just didn't yield. On the picture on the right, that's us right before we harvested the field. You can see how full the plants are, how tall they were, how it's just filled out and the plants branched. And we took an individual picture just to show everybody down below. That's that picture on the left. All of the plants out there usually had a couple branches on them, and they kept growing nodes in that middle branch through the drought. And that's where we picked up the extra 20 plus bushels in a drought situation. Just so you guys know, Freddie Dobb is famous for not applying any fertilizer to his fields. These fields were planted in high clay soils, 5-7 beans, and just it was oxid and nothing. That was the test. There was no fertilizer on these fields at all. He bought for his entire 1,500 acres this year. He did 100 acres last year and bought for his whole farm this year. Okay, so usually once I present in drought conditions, everybody asks me, do you guys do good in high yield environments? So we only had, out of North Carolina, we only had one spot that had a high yield environment, and this is from Van Johnson out in the Blacklands by the ocean, Eastern Shore. And they get good lake effect rain, and they had plenty of rain. He's a high-end farmer that's always shooting for 100 bushel soybeans. He applies a lot of fertilizer. I think he has between 8 and 10% organic matter soils, probably a lot like Iowa. He, on his test, this is off a yield monitor, he averaged 88 bushels over 315 acres. But if you see the yellow dots down there where the dark green is, that's where oxid was sprayed, and the only piece of his field in 315 acres that went over 100 bushels. He said we were 12 plus at least. It could have been up to 15 bushels, but he gave us 12 bushels plus on high yield environments, and we kicked him over 100 bushels. With that said, Van Johnson is very conservative. He has about 1,200 acres. We only got half of these acres this year compared to about 100 acres last year. So I was hoping off that data we'd get the rest of his farm, but we didn't. Only picked up half of it. And next year we'll pick up the rest once he does some more trials. The easiest thing on yield data, last year was our first year in business. We took 6 of our sites and took yield data from them that we either weighed or went off a yield monitor. And low end on soybean yield data is 10 bushels. That's pretty rare and pretty low for us. Up to 30. We'll fall in that 15 to 20 bushel range, no matter what the conditions are. And drought tolerance is one of those conditions that we really strive, really shine in. On corn yield data, we'll go from 30 to 70. If anybody looks at it, we'll be a solid 40, 50 in most years. But drought, the tougher the conditions, the bigger discrepancy in our yield data probably. Okay, so how the heck did you guys, the question will be, how the heck did these people accomplish this? So I got a slide here that we're going to zone in on for probably a couple minutes. How to accomplish inoculation and get you real results out in the field. So the problem ain't with biologicals, it's getting the biologicals into the plant and working. So on the left is a picture of a leaf, a side picture. And the easiest way to do this is there's a waxy layer on top called the cuticle. That's keeping out everything bad in the world. And then inside is the epidermis, which is the cells and where we want to get our beneficial fungus to. So on the right here, I'm going to read a kind of how we do it. Our surfactant is designed to go through the cuticle or waxy of the waxy layer very effectively but safe. So we're very confident in how we get through that waxy layer of the leaf, but very safe. We do not burn at all. AFS has turned the surfactant into a food source for the biologicals. There's the magic sauce. If I use a straight ionic with my non-ionic with my fungus, nothing will happen in that field. There has to be the food source in there for them to take off and start growing. You have to have the right biologicals. We are not mycorrhiza fungus. They will not work in the leaf tissue. They work in the roots. We are endophyte fungus, and specifically, there's 4 of them that we really zone in on. The more water at post-herbicide, the more you help with inoculation. So farmers usually spray 15 gallons. That's kind of a common practice. 15 gallons gets me inoculated. I love up to 25 gallons per acre. But between 15 and 25, we don't change their recipe at all to get it inoculated. No extra surfactant needed. In our product, we are 1/4 an acre. We are 16 ounces of surfactant, 16 ounces of fungal spores. That's what our product consists of, and you won't need any extra surfactant to get in through that leaf and through the waxy layer of that leaf when you're putting on your herbicides. Okay, so I don't know if I beat the drum too much, but I wanted to make sure everybody understands what we're doing. So we are inoculating the phyllosphere. That's the technical name for all the above ground parts of the plant. So we inoculate leaves instead of roots. Everybody in the industry is trying to inoculate roots with seed treatments, with in-row biologicals, and they aren't accomplishing anything. In my opinion, they're kind of spinning their wheels. So what makes AFS and Oxit so unique? We have developed a methodology to inoculate beneficial endophyte fungi into the leaves of corn and soybean plants at a high inoculation rate. I always say we're 95% plus. Who knows what's gonna happen, out there. But when we get that plant touched, we get it inoculated pretty well. High percentage of inoculation with beneficial fungi. This is how we turn on growth hormone production, organic acid production, while controlling stress such as drought, heavy metals, and salt. Our biggest benefit by far is drought tolerance with high salicylic acid production. That is the biggest benefit we have, along with growth hormone production. But drought is the major issue out there in the world. So guys, I don't even know if I should have put this up there, but I'm asking for your money, I figured I better put up why invest with advanced farming systems. Why should you do it? So we make corn and soybeans drought tolerant. That's through high salicylic acid production with our beneficial leaf fungi. That is our claim to fame, and that's what we are zoned in on doing and becoming the best in the world at. High inoculation rate of 95% plus. That's the issue of fixing low inoculation rates in the industry. Scalability. Guys, if we get on 5% of the corn and soybean market, that nets us $100 million for our company. That's based on 100 million acres of corn and soybeans planted in the United States. We need 5% of the acres. Our percent net margin. So we started the first year, last year was our first year. We were working on formulation and we had 30% net margins. It was a learning curve to say the least, but you guys seen some of the results. We did well. This year, with optimization of the product, we're at 60% net margins, and we're working even more on product optimization to get it down to a pint per acre and keep all of our benefits and get to a 75% net margin. That is one of my focuses that I'm really zoning in on and have put bricks in place to make that happen. So we have local distribution through AFS in North Carolina. We also have Parkway Ag that has 9 locations selling for us in North Carolina. And we just got into national distribution through EGE Bio from Kansas this last year. They're testing us hard, and we should start selling product through them next year. So that's our product. It's called Oxit. You'll see Bacillus on the label. We don't have to label our fungus on there for legal reasons. We are legal, but we don't have to label them on there, so we don't. We are patent pending, and we have a trademark on the product. And thank you for listening. I hope I made sense as I was going along there.
All right. Yeah, James, that was really good, James. I thought you did a really good job of explaining kind of what the product is, but that's my second time hearing it. So thank you. We do have a couple of questions in the chat already. I don't know if you want to stop.
I don't see it. I'm trying to get out of here, and I don't want to X myself out of anything here. There we go. Let me see if I can get back into Zoom. Well, apparently I'm up there. Jordan, I don't see, you want to just ask him or bring it up? There it is.
I might be able to kick you off if I click it.
Shares.
I've got them. I can read them off. Are there any known interactions with non-GMO versus biotech soybeans or high-value soybeans like food grade?
No. And what do you mean by interaction? Are you saying down the line for consumer?
Jacob, feel free to chime in or drop something in the chat, but I'm gonna guess maybe just have you tested between non-GMO versus GMO to see if there's a difference in plant response.
Not. I have not. Second year in business, main focus is get out there on the big farmers and get money coming in. So no, there is a lot of testing I want to do. Wheat is one of them. We have one of our fungus matches up perfectly with wheat for Fusarium, for head scab, but nope, I haven't got that technical yet. I don't see an issue though. So you'll probably find this funny, but even on my blackberry plants and my rose bushes, they love the beneficial fungus. So
Right. And then
Joe,
I'm
there we
going
go.
to
I'm fine.
read this one word for word for you, James.
Okay.
With the tremendous amount of capital that has been invested into plant health management in recent years, including countless companies that have failed in market success,
Mhm.
why has nobody else figured this out? And
So I,
is
I
that
I
your
stumbled on it. So that's a great point.
Answer,
So
James.
what's that?
I said, give him my answer. God sent it to us. That's the only way we found it.
But I don't know if that's a technical answer. My original concept was not this. My original concept was to take the beneficials with Roundup down to the root and move them in the plant. When I tried it, to be honest with you, I didn't even know endophyte fungi existed. When we did it, and I ran the test, and I kept trying and trying and trying, and when I succeeded, I kept looking at the roots for the biologicals, and I couldn't find them. And finally, it dawned on me after I did enough reading, and I sent in leaf tissue samples, and I found our biologicals in the leaf. The other piece is there has to be a specific food source for them. So the issue is everybody's trying to inoculate through roots and through roots, and nobody's really inoculating through leaves. They've never really tried it before, and we tried it because I was trying to inoculate the roots through the leaves. So nobody's tried. If you look around the industry, they are just starting to figure out which endophytes. They're just starting to figure out the biologicals in the phylosphere right now. NC State's doing that work. They are scanning and trying to figure out which ones are really doing all the work in there. So we're a step ahead of everybody. We're a step ahead of the research, maybe from trying and maybe from luck, but I would say perseverance got us here more than we had the perfect concept.
And then
So
can you speak to the IP? Do you have any patents filed or
it's
pending?
filed. Yeah. So we have a provisional patent filed. We feel very good that we got all the info in. We were I filed a provisional to give us time to add anything that came through this year. And so it is filed as of February something. I don't know, it was the 24th, something like that. It is filed and written and done, but it is a provisional, and I don't have to officially file it until, or they don't read it until the following year. So yes, we have a provisional patent on the product and the process.
And then maybe a recap on what is actually happening in the plant to help it better survive drought conditions.
Okay, the recap, and I know it takes a while. It took me a while to understand this too, but I couldn't understand how we got through drought because I'm not a biologist. I was witnessing it, I was seeing it, but I didn't understand it. So I went down to the World Biological Conference, and I talked to a PhD named Dr. Ure, who was doing a presentation on salicylic acid. And I watched his presentation, got to talk to him afterwards, and his statement is salicylic acid. Fungus produce salicylic acid. Salicylic acid is what primes the plant for drought. And so that's as technical as I can get to you guys, but our fungi produce salicylic acid. I hope that if you want a biologist answer, we got to get my two biologists on this to get deeper into that question.
I think that's a good answer. It causes the plant to produce the salicylic acid, which is response to drought, so it helps prepare it.
Yep, prepares it for drought. It's very impressive when it starts working.
And Jordan, how are we doing on time? There's a few more really good questions in here.
Yeah, we're good. We started about 10 minutes late, so we've got 9 minutes or so.
We've got a question from Keith here about have you done any testing of the soybeans after harvest to see if there's nutrient differences or maybe bricks in season?
No.
Okay.
Coming, and
Okay.
what we do know is there's less disease pressure. We know that visually and just by picking it up, but and we know that the health of the soybeans on double crop was incredibly better, but we haven't got that deep. Those tests come as we grow as a company. We
James,
are a startup. You know, we got hit upside the head. We're doing IP. I'm doing formulation, distribution, taking out the trash. We just got the biologists on staff probably about 3 to 4 months ago, where we can call them whenever we want. So we're starting to ramp up some of those. The biggest one we're doing is to really focus on how much salicylic acid we're producing this summer and running those tests. Drought is
James,
the issue that all farmers have.
James, remember, we also had a higher test weight. The test weights
You,
were really strong.
that's right. Corn test weights went from 52, 53 pounds a bushel to 59, 60 on some of our tests. Yes, test weight did go up, but we didn't do any test weights on soybeans. Through that drought, I didn't see any difference on the test weight on soybeans, but in corn, we have seen test weights go up pretty solid.
So as a startup that's trying to get your feet under you, you're gonna love this next one.
Okay.
What are the regulatory hurdles?
None in the U.S. that I know of. The product is labeled as a foliar. We are labeled as a foliar surfactant. There's biology. There's another company that does it just to try to inoculate roots this way. They don't have any beneficial fungus in it. There's no regulatory in my way. We go through a toll blender that takes care of all those issues. If there's any regulatory in any state, we can't go in. They are very good at keeping us abridged about any regulatory things that we need to be aware of. There's none.
And then what's your raise and what are the use of funds? And
Yes.
maybe could you tell us what you've sold and or where you're at business model wise too?
Clinda, you go. What did we sell last year, and where are we at this year?
Last year we sold it was 191,000.
Okay.
That's just Oxit. And this year we're 586,000.
Yep. Okay.
And since then we've added 2 more North Carolina. Well, no, we actually added Parkway, which is 7 locations.
Not
Um,
nine.
9 locations now. And then with the national distribution, it should just be astronomical. I mean,
Yeah, we're just getting started, but yes, we're what do we
yeah,
do? Increased by fivefold this year?
6.7% increase or 6.7% times.
Yeah, 6, 7.
Yeah.
So, and then what was your other question that I was supposed to get to
Uh,
you?
how much are you raising, the
Yeah.
terms, and what are you going to use the money for?
Well, the easy to raise the money for is purchase orders, paying ourselves, IP. I spent a lot on IP this year, intellectual property, and the biggest one is purchase orders. So get the product in, make it, and then 30 days later, 60 days later, you get a check. So just cash flow. And what we're looking for is 500,000. That's what we're looking for. And that's and we value the business. I don't know if everybody needs to hear that right now. If we have valued the business, we know what percentage we're willing to give away. We have those numbers pretty concrete in how we value the business. What's interesting after starting this is I don't know if there's any good way to value a business that's concrete. So
Someday there is
yeah.
down the road. Have you brought any money in yet?
No, we bootstrapped it. So, you know, how we survived last year is we ran an early order program. We brought in $100,000 and ordered product off that early order program. Bought the product, brought it in, and then we shipped it out to everybody else, and we've rolled from there. So I don't even. The only reason is we're going faster than I expected. You know, if we stayed in North Carolina, I wouldn't even think about doing this. Once I got into national distribution, I don't know if I can handle the purchase orders. If it takes off and the guys are testing it this year, that will be for for next December, January. And I did miss something: optimization of the product. That piece is costing me a little bit to bring down the volume that we put out per acre, but keep the same acre price. So that brings my net margins up. So I'm zeroing in on optimization of the product. Some of the funds will be used for that as well.
Jordan, do we have time for the last one in the chat?
Yeah, let's do one more.
Okay. What happens when the product is applied at the root? Are there differences?
No, nothing. So we did it. We stuck the product in furrow, and the issue is getting across the barrier and into the plant. So and I honestly believe the soil's too cold. I think they get ate up in the soil, don't live there. I have not got it to inoculate through the roots and in the soil. And it makes sense. They live in the leaves. Our fungus live in the leaves. That's two different worlds. There's biologicals that live in the roots, ones that live in the leaves. So.
And then are you anticipating any additional raise after this 500,000?
No, I'm not even, no. So I like our margins. We're doing well. We could bootstrap this, but it makes it so much easier. And it takes a lot of sleepless nights off of me knowing that I got the money there if I need it. Sure. But no, I don't. I just, this is a one-time deal. This is, we got a good enough margins. Next year, my outlook is just in North Carolina alone, we should net over $1 million next year. With the farms, we're on over 60 farms right now. And with Parkway Ag starting, there should be no reason why I can't get to 100 farmers next year using the product in full swing. So, I pretty much know how much I make per farmer. There's an average size that I know of, and that's how I'm calculating it.
Okay. All right. Well, great presentation, good questions. It's always interesting to see a high performing product like this. And I think typically farmers are quite skeptical, as James, I know you're aware of that. And but you appear to have some data to back it up so far. So it's interesting.
Jordan, did you call the farmers that I gave the numbers to? And that was one of my questions. I was hoping you did.
I have not yet. No.
Okay. I let them know you're going to call them. Freddie's a little hard to get a hold of, but I hope you hear it firsthand through them, their experience, instead of through my mouth.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll do that for sure. So, well, thank you. And if there's additional questions, we'll pass them your way. Otherwise, we'll keep in touch.
Yeah, sounds good.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Yeah, we appreciate the time. It was good for you guys to come in and listen.
Yeah. All right, thanks. Okay, Jack Klaber with MicroMGx, you're up next.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jack Klober. Let me see if I can share this file. Here we go. You should see my screen right now.
Yep, we see it.
Looking good? Great. Let me put it in show mode.
There you go.
Okay, well, Alexander Polidor is my head of R&D. We just spent some time in the lab right before this. I ran over. So my name is Jack Klober. We're delivering nature solutions to the world's farmers, and I capitalize nature on purpose. We're really discovering instead of inventing. And I'd like to talk a little bit about our first product as well as our pipeline. So I show this slide, but as a retired lieutenant colonel, I think back and I think I'm going to war, and someone says, "All right, you're going to go to war. You got to take the enemy by storm." And here's your weapons. So by the way, these weapons have been restricted, so you're not allowed to use those. And these weapons over here, the enemy's already seen those, and they build up like they know how to get around those. So good luck and go to war. I say, you're crazy. I need all my weapons. And I think that's what we're doing to farmers right now. Not on purpose, but I mean, we have restricted weapons to tackle weeds, and we have herbicide resistance that's been built up, and they see that same herbicide year after year, and they're going to attack it. I'm not sure why the timing is going on here. Sorry. So we're losing $32 billion every year to weeds around the world. That's amazing, given that we're already spending $21 billion to control these weeds. So these are the primary causes. And it's not just a global statistic. You look at any specific crop, and you can see the number of herbicide-resistant species in that crop, species of weeds in that crop, from soybean. Geez, sorry about this. Man, all right. So let's go on to find out what we're doing about this for a solution. So we use some clues from nature and our integrated technology to discover a solution. In this case, we went right to diseased onion center rot, a diseased onion that has this. And we found the bacteria that causes that. And that bacteria then we explored and really examined it through genomics and metabolomics, which is the chemistry side. And we found the small molecule, the chemical that actually is the cause of this disease and actually allows it to work. We tested that chemical, and sure enough, it's a pretty darn effective herbicide. We call that MGX 1001. Here's just a small picture of where we treated water hemp with this, and you can see where we had, almost complete destruction of it, but the untreated, of course, grows. Now, this was also glyphosate-resistant water hemp, and so you see the same picture over there in untreated. So we've been building this with the University of Illinois, and we have now complete license, and the ability to sub-license as well. And the patent's been filed internationally in 34 different countries, as a matter of fact. So what's different about this? Why is this so different? Well, it's the first new class in 30 years. All right, so that's pretty different. And of course, that's only important if it beats these herbicide-resistant weeds, which what we're finding is a great response in broadleaf weeds. And you can see here, demonstrated control of palmer amaranth, water hemp, mare's tail, morning glory, kochia. So some of the worst weeds, we're being able to control the ones, especially the ones that are herbicide resistant. And it's differentiated, of course, because number one, this is something new. It's ag tech, right? It's something new, but no new process or equipment's needed. This is a chemical. It's not a bacteria that you spray. It's a naturally produced chemical that you use just like you would use glyphosate or dicamba. Sustainable production, because we do it through fermentation, much healthier for the environment, and we don't leave synthetic residue. And we also have discovered the gene that would allow for GMO crops, and we have that patented as well. So it's a huge market. I don't have to tell you that the herbicides are a huge market. There's this also very large serviceable addressable market. Now it's post-emergence, so it's applied foliar. And the serviceable attainable market, I write that down as 3 billion because I think we're going to achieve a 3 billion with this market eventually. Might be at the end of its patent, but I think we're going to move up there with the leaders. And of course, the leaders are right around 2 billion, with, of course, glyphosate's way up there at 8 billion. That's kind of a ridiculous amount. Who are the team that we're working with? Well, we got our experienced team there. We have our lawyer from Philadelphia and my great head of R&D, Alex, who's also the co-inventor of our first product. Myself, I'm a retired lieutenant colonel, and I also had experience with pharmaceuticals at J&J and Bristol Myers Squibb, and then ran my own consulting company. We have some brilliant researchers from University of Illinois, and Reagan and Neil are from Northwestern University. Those are three that came up with a platform that I'm going to talk about. We also have some great experienced advisors from like Lawson Rao and Joe Byram and Philip Rollinson. Two of those were at DuPont, and you can see Syngenta Monsanto. Daphne Pruce and Gerald from University of Illinois helping us as entrepreneurs. So we having traction for this? Yeah. Excuse me. We have started out with some really good investments. We had $5 million NIH to help develop the platform, and about $600,000 now in dilutive investment. Then we also have traction with the industry. We had 3 top companies test this, top 5 companies in the world test this, and all three made offers to us. We took the best one, and we are now conducting field trials. Thanks to Ag Launch, we have 5 different trials being planned for the next 2 months around the Midwest, 2 in Tennessee, 2 locations in Tennessee, 4 actual trials, and then a location in Iowa. And also we have a location in Switzerland and Brazil that are planned. We have a plan for signing a license with a collaborator by the first half of 2026 for this, our first product. We believe that once it's launched in 2031, 2032, that it's going to be first launched in a bit of smaller markets and for certain specific use. And we're going to see that just grow and grow as this one of the few branded IP still new herbicides, it's naturally made, is going to grow and grow. We think it will be cash flow break even by this time next year when we get that first licensing deal. And we believe that there could be a buyout by 2030 because of a number of things. Number one, this first product, but also I show you the timeline for this first product, but you see that little arrow down here. This is more investigation using our lab here at the University of Illinois at Research Park to find new natural products and on the same type of timeline, and we're going to find more and more and more. Our projection is to find 2 to 4 patentable new natural products from bacteria and fungi every year. And we're starting out with 3,000 bacteria every year. You find anyone that goes through 3,000 individual bacteria every year to find their natural products, it doesn't exist. It's because of the platform that we've been able to build from our founders and then from optimizing that over the last few years. It's more efficient. It's 100 times more efficient and cheaper than the classic way of working with bacteria to find natural products. And the metabolomics is a key to that. We use some AI to combine the genomics metabolomics data, and that's how we discover so many new novel natural products at 1/100th of the cost. So our ask right now is through a safe note. We're looking for 1.5 million total. We realize we're going to have 3 or 4 probably participants in this safe note. We already have $375,000 committed, and I'll talk a little bit about how we can use that. We're going to be using those funds first to meet our milestones with the collaborator and to optimize this license deal for the company. $300,000 for herbicide production over the next herbicide trials and herbicide fermentation. We're doing a larger run planned later this year, 1,500 liters, and that should give us a lot of information about how to get that cost of goods down to a reasonable amount for the farmers. And that's our first effort because it's always the main concern. Can you get biologics down to a reasonable cost? Then we have some trials we're going to be running, and thanks to Ag Launch, we're running quite a bit more than we could have. And then we're going to be, of course, driving forward on our platform to produce these 2 to 4 new patents every year. Now, our pipeline, we already have our second product lined up. It should be patented by applied for by June. And this is a anthelmintic, which is basically an anti-parasite for worms. And we haven't tested it yet, but it's very potential. It has a huge potential for a nematicide as well. But right now it's working on C. elegans, which is a good model for worms in livestock. After that would be a herbicide. So I'd love to answer any questions you have after me showing you this kind of a high-level look at our company, our platform, and our first product. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, James.
Jack.
Sorry, Jack. Thanks, Jack. James and Jack, I got them mixed up the first two. But so if anybody has questions, feel free to come off mute. And we can do it that way as well. We do have one in the chat though, Jack. How does this impact the drops?
The drops.
Dave, I'm not exactly sure. You might want to expand on that one a little bit.
Is that the droplet size or when you're spraying or what drops? Sorry.
Sorry, crops,
Oh,
CROPS, not
oh, okay, great, great.
typo.
Well, it's a
Oh,
great
sorry.
question. So it actually does. It's a non-selective herbicide. So guess what? It kills crops at a high enough concentration. We have found that it's more effective against broadleaf weeds, and it's more injurious against broadleaf crops, and less injurious on the grass-like crops. But at high enough concentration, it's going to kill crops too. So you're not going to spray unless you're doing see and spray or very precision spraying. You're going to be using this in a burn down mode until the GMO is available. And we have found the gene and we patented that. So we're ready to go to license that out to soybean and corn, wheat, whatever, yeah, when the companies want to do that. We probably wouldn't be developing that GMO seed ourselves. We'd be licensing out to the different seed companies.
There's another question. I don't know, Spencer, if you'd be willing to answer that one. I see you just put in a link for what a safe note is.
Yeah, it's kind of close to a convertible note, but it's not technically debt. It's it's a simple agreement for future equity. It's meant to be lightweight and not a lot of legal, and convert into equity at a future financing round.
And then Jack,
Sure.
I had a question too, maybe
Sure.
would be helpful for the group. So you've done some testing with some of the large strategic companies in the space.
Right.
What's kind of your hope for the next step in one of those relationships?
Sure. We have some milestones set with one collaborator, and we've passed all the milestones last year. We had an 18-month agreement with them, and we have two more milestones this year, and they're mainly on field trials and on cost of goods. So the next milestone is in 2 weeks, and we simply have to write up our cost of goods analysis, and the formulation's already done. So that's really good news. That should be not a problem. And then we have another milestone after the field trials. And I would say that there's a couple of successes we had in the last 3 months, which were very good. One was we found the mechanism of action, the mode of action, which we knew it was novel from all the tests from all the companies, but they didn't know what it was. So we found that out in the last, let's say, 2 months. And then we also knew that surfactants helped the effectiveness of our herbicide, but the one that helped us the best was not very sustainable. So we just found a sustainable herbicide. It's ADC 611, if that means anything to you, but that is a sustainable surfactant. So now combined with our natural products, so we're pretty happy about that. The last success we had was it was taking us a long time to purify after the fermentation. A lot of effort and something it would be hard to scale up. And so we sent a sample of the fermentation broth which was 8% purity, along with our 98% pure product that we'd been using. And they had the same effectiveness in the field, or in the greenhouse, same effectiveness. So we were thrilled when we found that out, because that could cut out like 1/2 to 2/3 of our cost right now of making the product. So with that, that's going to help us meet our cost of goods goals tremendously.
Can this product be applied with other chemicals during the crop season?
So the answer is we haven't done a lot of tank mixing tests with other herbicides like glyphosate or 2,4-D. We just haven't done that yet. We don't see why not, but it's a phosphonate, and glyphosate's a phosphonate, so is glufosinate. So we don't see why they wouldn't be able to mix it. But I can't say we've done all the tests and we can do it. We're going to be doing some tests without the mixing right now, just with the surfactant. In our ag launch trials, like I said, we're doing one that's focused on mare's tail, and another one that focuses on water hemp or in Palmer amaranth. And so we're focusing on those basically 3 big weeds, and just to see the impact and make sure it's working in the field like it did in the greenhouse. I will say that our collaborator has committed to the larger field trials because of the successes we've had last year in the greenhouse.
Two questions.
Sure.
First question is, what is the risk of volatilization and off-target movement? And question number two is, have you done any research on droplet size sensitivity as it relates to quality of spraying and efficacy?
So volatilization, we haven't done any studies on that. We're going to be seeing some results from the trials at Ag Launch, but we haven't done any specific studies on that yet. It is probably closer to like a glufosinate than it is a glyphosate as far as mechanism of action. Um, and that may mean something as far as volatilization, but we haven't done the testing yet on that. As far as movement, we did a test that was, we sprayed it about 2 to 3 inches away from crops that were growing, and we saw no injury at all of the crops. So it doesn't travel through the ground, doesn't travel into the roots, and travel at all. So, and we also did some pre-emergence, got no effect pre-emergence. So this is definitely a post-emergence foliar impact, and actually kind of we did a lot of tests on whether or not it damages like bacteria or fungi in the soil, and we're not getting any damage to fungi or bacteria. So I think it will not be a bad impact on the microbiome. Any other questions? Great. I hope that it's not, I don't hope we're not seen as a like all the risk on one product and that's it, because I really hope I spent enough time on the pipeline to show that the founders are so excited about the platform being able to discover over and over and over again so many natural products that are still out there undiscovered. And that's what we're focused on, is really doing this 2 to 4 to 5 times every year, coming up with new natural products and seeing what the hit is and where they can be used and where they can be useful.
Who has ownership of that?
The platform, we have trade secret ownership of that for each individual project. This first project was discovered by my chairman and my head of R&D while they were in U of I. And so we have licensed that out from U of I. So we have complete ownership of it now. The patent was filed by U of I. We have a license and the ability to sublicense. And we've been paying for all the patent prosecution ourselves.
All right, last call for a final question for Jack.
One additional question. I
Sure.
missed the beginning as I had to step away for a moment. Herbicides derived from nature is nothing new, and unfortunately, many companies have failed in their journey of trying to do this, such as Marone Bio Innovations, who lost tens of millions of dollars in their journey before going through an M&A. What do you believe you are doing different to have a runway towards success as a North Star versus historical failures in the industry?
What are we doing different? We are not targeting a mechanism that we think is the right mechanism. We are an untargeted discovery organization where we find the novel natural products. Once we find that, then we go into bioactivity testing. And we're going to be testing. So our second one is, like I said, is an anthelmintic. It's an anti-parasite. We tested it as a herbicide, it didn't work. And so we're finding where these natural products work in life sciences and applying them. We'll find some ones that aren't very good. We just won't go forward with those. And then I also think, after having tested, sent this to 3 out of the top 5 companies, and all 3 spent a year testing it, and all 3 came back, said, novel mechanism, and here's our offer. So that showed me that they used all their testing they like quick kills. Let's try it on this and this and this. Doesn't do that, we're not moving forward. So I like that. I think maybe I don't know if I call Marone Bio a failure, but because Pamarone's continuing to find new products and try to get them out there. But I would say that I think there's a lot to be said to working with the big companies. They have some testing that we can't do. They can test with 2 or 3 or 5 milligrams that would take us 2 or 3 or 5 grams. And you can do, and that's so much more expensive and time consuming. So I really, and of course the distribution. So I think maybe working with the big ones helps. I know there's bad things about it. We're counting on royalties 5 to 10%, not 50 to 80%. But we're going to have a bunch of these, and that's why we think we can. Our company is a safer company to invest in because it's not a one product company.
All right. We still do have a couple minutes for a last question, so if anyone wants to hop off mute, they sure can. Otherwise, thanks a lot, Jack. Super interesting. New mode of action in the industry is critical and exciting stuff. So thanks for pitching to the group.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for inviting me in. Take care, everyone.
Yep. Okay, so we've got one more left tonight, and that is soil action, and it looks like Jack and Nate are both on. So I think we can leave it to you guys to take it away and start your presentation.
Thank you, Jordan. Appreciate that. Evening, everyone. Thanks for carving out a little time for us. My name is Jack Oslin. I am the co-founder of Soil Action, along with Dr. Nate Story, who is joining me on the call this evening. I am a 3-time technology startup founder, 2 of those with Nate Story. I spent about 20 years prior to my entrepreneurship in the factory automation, high-speed manufacturing space, making millions of things every day that cost a penny a piece. But when I got into this down this entrepreneurial road and met Nate's Story, sort of my life changed. So Nate and I have sort of a unique partnership together. We know how to divide and conquer to grow and scale a successful business. While Nate is the brilliant technical co-founder, product developer, PhD agronomist, leader of technical teams, I do all the less than fun things behind the scenes and make sure they don't get in Nate's way so that we can be successful for y'all. With that, I'm going to stop talking because you're going to want to hear from the smart guy on the call. So Nate, with that, I'm going to throw it over to you and let you tell our story.
Thanks, Jack. I'll kick it off by saying, I've been in ag pretty much my entire career now. I think it's, one of the least understood but highest impact areas to apply technology and get a lot of leverage. And so I've always been interested in this space for that reason. So I did my bachelor's in agroecology, did a master's and a PhD in agronomy. And during my PhD, I founded my first business, which was kind of the first profitable business in the indoor growing space. And during that time, I produced a product that Jack started to use and use that product to find me, and then talked me into leaving to go found a company called Plenty with him. So I've spent the last 10 years at Plenty really focused on breaking world records for yield. I was very yield centric, managed the hardware, software and plant science teams, tearing yield apart, trying to understand all of kind of the algorithmic components of yield, how they pull apart, how we optimize them individually, and then stack them back together to get really, really high yields. And so, I did that for a long time in the indoor space, and now I'm really interested in doing it in the outdoor space. So last June, I left Plenty. I needed a break. I needed to figure out what was coming next. And, during the fall, Jack and I started talking about nitrogen in particular, all the plant nutrients, but nitrogen in particular. and AI. And we decided this was kind of maybe the next thing for us to tackle, this idea of real-time sensing and reaction at the implement. So we spent several months researching and training an AI model, and we figured out how to solve this problem. So let's go ahead and jump into the deck. But there are 4 things that I want to make sure land. Number 1, we've built a product that can read nitrogen and other plant nutrients in real time. This transforms dumb implements into smart implements and allows us to increase or decrease fertilizer application in response to what the soil needs. No more, no less. Number 2, this product unlocks $400 billion in annual value for farmers, for equipment manufacturers, for the environment. And that's before even contemplating, new forms of value that we think can be built on top of it. Number 3, our AI application really starts with an innovation in generating training data. And this innovation unlocks blistering fast speeds that no one else can really match on cost or quality. We think this is initial advantage. And then number 4, we are building a CapEx light business with a lot of revenue potential through licensing and subscriptions. All right, let's go ahead and jump into this. All right, so everyone here understands kind of the fertilizer problem, but 40 to 80% of most fertilizer globally is wasted. And that's a pretty unbelievable amount of waste, a lot of wasted money. And it's one of the most wasted resources in the world. And all of that is because soil is a black box. All we can really get out are snapshots in time from labs. Labs tend to be slow. They're expensive. The data are often obsolete by the time the farmer can implement. And this drives a huge cost to farmers in the form of wasted fertilizer and lost yield. In addition to that, we think that nitrogen fertilizer is an environmental and a human health disaster. So our product has, the potential to offset 2 gigatons of greenhouse gases annually. And, we think there are almost no other products out there that offset 7% of greenhouse gases with a single device. So deploying this would also contribute to reducing eutrophication. Think of the Gulf of Mexico, Chesapeake Bay, Lake Erie, where you've got major runoff problems. We solve this, this challenge, and we do it with AI. So with AI, we transform 4 years per sample cycle into 5 seconds. $50 a test goes down to 5 cents. And by doing this, we unlock massive value for farmers and for equipment manufacturers. Jack and I have been doing this for a while. We're a solid team. We've worked together before. We've got experience. We're choosing to come back willingly and do this again together. So we think we're uniquely qualified to solve this. And, we share the same fanatical belief around empowering farmers. We're attacking an absolutely massive market. Everyone here understands that. Our goal is to go out and offer upside to equipment manufacturers and market and utility and value to farmers in the form of lower cost and more yield. So we charge by the implement at first through licenses and then by the acre, ultimately through subscriptions. We're going to win for 3 fundamental reasons. So number 1 is, we figured out how to generate a kind of physical synthetic data. And this drives really fast training speeds, much, much faster than anyone else. Number 2, we've got a very focused business model. We're not about all of the plant nutrients right out of the gate. We're very focused on nitrogen, as an end-to-end application. So measuring and reacting, measuring at the front of the tractor, reacting at the back, if you will. All of this to make, the implements functionally autonomous. Number 3 is we work within the system. So tech companies often come along, they try to change the entire system. We want to work within the existing agricultural system. So we want to incentivize everyone to join our team, especially farmers. We think that this is a really valuable tool to them. The result of this is network effects. So, equipment manufacturers win. They become distribution channel to 30 million tractors. Farmers win because it's a zero friction product and it delivers value on day 1. And we see that value building as the product self improves. So, value begets trust, which allows us to create more value, and the cycle continues. So how does it work? Our product delivers soil chemistry data in real time to make implements autonomous. So we've got autonomous tractors. Why not autonomous implements? There are 2 fundamental steps to this. Step number 1 is the training step. We use our high volume training approach to create a powerful AI that can interpret low resolution data with high resolution data. So today we're around 90% accurate on nitrate ranges and 100% accurate on ammonium. Step number 2 then is we take that AI trained in our bulk processing facility and we feed it low resolution data in the field to translate into implement commands. So this training approach is way faster, 1,000 times faster than the historical approach. And it represents a meaningful leap forward in how AI can be applied to physical problems like we have here. One of the major objections to what we're doing is that in IRS, the approach that we're using has a hard time seeing through the absorption bands of water. So this is just a chart that shows AI seeing through the absorption bands of water and nailing nitrate and ammonium at different soil moisture levels. Why now? Well, we think we exist at a unique time. It's a confluence of technology, market, and team. We've got innovation on data generation, innovation on AI analysis, and a deep knowledge of the market. How do we make money? It's very simple. So we provide a technology access license to OEMs for less than the cost of R&D. Number 2, we want a royalty on each unit that gets sold. And then 3, once those implements are in the field, we provide value to farmer in the form of subscriptions. Number 1 is an implement level nitrogen subscription. This is for managing nitrogen at the implement level. And then number 2 is yield upside via agronomic services. So as we work the field, we're seeing nitrogen, yes, but we're also seeing all of the other elements that are present. And that data has the potential to unlock massive amounts of yield upside for farmers. From a revenue projection standpoint, you can see here how we move from early license and royalty revenue next year into an accumulating revenue scenario via subscription fees by 2028 and 2029. And you can see how this easily becomes a subscription and annual recurring revenue software type business. And one thing to note here is we're going to see pilot revenue next year, and this is going to be super defensible revenue. In an age where AI revenue is cheap, an age of wrappers, right? It's non-defensible. This is defensible. Our revenue is built on a proprietary model, and it's built on proprietary data. The competitive landscape is largely divided into 2 different groups. We've got measurers and we have mappers. So measurers have detail, but they have no scale. Mappers have scale, but they have no detail. Most of their data are proxy measurements or inference. So no one here is end-to-end, meaning they can measure at the front of the tractor, react at the back. And we believe that detail from direct measurement, scale, and that end-to-end application is the winning combo. One last thing to note is, others are taking a relatively high cost measurement approach that only works in a very limited market. We're using AI to take a very low cost approach and produce a high definition, high value output for the mass market. Which brings us to the end of our deck. So just to make sure I landed the 4 main points, we're the only company in the world that's really focused on executing against real-time implement nutrient management with AI. We are tackling a huge $400 billion market. We're innovating on training in a way that no one can match on speed, cost, or outcome. And we think the result of this is a business that will create massive financial value for farmers, for equipment manufacturers, and for our investors. Happy to take your questions.
Could you review with us what your ask is and what your use of funds are going to be?
Yeah, so we are raising $5 million on a $20 million pre-money valuation, and we do have a use of funds graph somewhere we could probably pull up. The bulk of the bulk of our use of funds is for bringing up our training facility. So today we have an AI training facility that is largely manual, and our objective is to make that automated so that we can train much, much faster. And then the rest of it is largely allocated towards field trials and working directly with farmers to trial the equipment in the field.
Any other questions for Jack and Nate? I was going to say, on the Ag Venture side, Ag Ventures did approve an investment in Soil Action here this past month. So I wanted to to lay that out as well. So there is a question in the chat. Can you provide a use case example in layman's terms? What's the problem? And how does your solution solve that problem?
Yeah, so maybe one way to put it is, traditional sampling is, soil sampling is slow. It takes a lot of time to get it done. And the data that you get from it isn't really that representative. And so our objective is to say, how can we move from sampling soil every few acres, every few years, to sampling every 5 seconds, every time you travel across the field? And what kind of value can that data unlock for farmers? And our belief is that if farmers have access to real-time nutrient data in their soil, being able through our computer to connect to that implement and control the implement in response to that basically makes a lot of kind of the mapping space relatively obsolete and allows us to start to do some very powerful yield optimization on relatively small plots. So, all of this is to the end of giving farmers more data and more useful data that they can use to make better management decisions. And ultimately, as we are able to automate more and more implements, as we're able to do more optimization work in the cloud, essentially what I've done for the last 10 years in a different space, but very focused on plant yield, we're going to unlock an opportunity for farmers to bring all of the low yielding parts of their fields up meaningfully. And hopefully that makes everyone more money, and we can make it really easy.
Nate, there's another question.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, there was a question in the chat about data monopoly. Can you share more about how we have a data monopoly as a basis for competitive advantage?
Yeah, well, listen, there's a lot of data, on-farm data already. Now it's oftentimes disaggregated, right? It's in different places. It's not all aggregated in a single place, and you don't necessarily have the ability to like go in and peel it all apart. And you're missing big chunks of it sometimes. I would say like real-time or up-to-date, very granular soil nutrient data is probably one of those data sets. And so, our thought is, hey, if we can come and basically offer this missing piece of the puzzle, what does your soil nutrition look like every 50 feet across your field or in 2,000 square foot blocks, right? And how could that change your management approach, especially if implements could respond to those differences in real time? And so we think, by starting with what's functionally a data monopoly on soil nutritional data, now obviously that data belongs to the farmer, but we have kind of probably a monopoly on the ability to collect that in real time. I think that unlocks a lot of opportunities for us. And I think the first one is, number one, providing real value to farmers and working on building trust to get to the point where farmers are willing to share more data with us. Because really what we've built is a deep learning model, a really fantastic deep learning model that can find some unbelievable nuance in the data that we feed to it. And it's not our objective to use that model only for analyzing soil. It's our objective to ultimately use that in service of farmers, in service of farm economics, and in service of yield. And so in order to do that, we've got to start with data, but it's really a gateway. It's a gateway product that opens the door to more data streams and the ability to aggregate and analyze to a degree that is not humanly possible today.
Could you describe your sensors that will be used on the tractor to gather the data?
Yeah, you bet. So we're actually using off-the-shelf near IR spectroscopy sensors. So this is basically a device that shines full spectrum light on the soil and then measures how much light it gets back. And the profile of the light that it gets back basically tells us what is there, because different nutrients, different elements, different compounds absorb or reflect different parts of the spectrum. And so it gives us this wibbly wobbly line, and the wibbly wobbly line, how it changes tells us what is in the soil. Yeah, that's a very simple explanation, but that line basically goes into the data, all that data, all those XY coordinates, they go into our computer. And then the AI will basically recognize that line or recognize elements of that line and transform it into absolute nutrient values or absolute nutrient ranges.
How deep does that light go in the soil?
Yeah, so it's not penetrating, so it doesn't go very deep. And so, one thing we're working on right now is how do we expose the soil surface at the depth that we want to read? And that's kind of the technical challenge that we're addressing right now.
Nate, what did you learn from your plenty experience?
Oh, there's not enough time even to like begin to address that. I mean, if you guys want to set me up, with a case of beer and like 4 hours some night, I will. I'm more than happy to give that speech. I mean, listen, I think there are, for me, the big lessons were just around compromising on my own personal conviction and how that led to failure in the business. I think the other big lessons for me were you can never be better than your board and you can never be better than your CEO. There's just a hard limit on the quality of an organization you can build if you don't have the right leadership or the right governance. And those were kind of the big, the high level, like flyover lessons. Each of those have lots of micro lessons and lots of illustrative stories that we probably can't get into, but I need to write a book about it someday.
Okay, anybody have anything else? Yeah, Jack and Nate, we do record this as well. I mentioned this at the beginning that you guys might not have been on, but this will be sent out to our whole organization or to all the angels in this group. So
Terrific.
Sounds great.
well, if there's no other questions, I guess we can move on from this section. So Jack and Nate, appreciate it, and hopefully we'll be in touch with some feedback as we receive it. So
Yeah,
Great.
perfect. Appreciate
Thanks so
that,
much for
Jordan.
the time.
Thank you, everyone. Good
yep,
night.
thank
Goodbye.
you. And so for the rest of the group, just as a reminder, we will have indication of interest surveys that will be sent out. Even if you're not, you're not going to be investing in any of these. If you have any comments that you just want to leave in some of that survey, we would appreciate that as well. So be on the lookout for that. But now we can kind of open it up to discussion with the group. Now that the founders are off, if anyone has any talking points they want to hit on or feedback is always great.
I guess I can start. The Soil Action Group, they have done a little bit of product discovery, I guess I think would be the correct term, calls with a few of us. I had one this afternoon with them talking about sensor deployment and then also use case scenarios. And then we kind of dived into the go-to-market aspect of it as far as how they could make this data useful in a marketable manner in a quicker time period. I think their overall vision is great as far as machine being able to adapt and variable rate on the go. But I guess personally, I feel like there's a quicker, more realizable go to market in just being able to pull their device through the soil, generate live results on a very, very small level, and get that to existing agronomy partner structures, and then utilize that to get near real time variable rate files using existing software platforms. And I think that would give them a leg to then develop the machine responsive capabilities down the road. So that's just kind of what I've taken, and they seem very engaged, very receptive, and very energized.
I would echo the same. I had a call with them this afternoon, and then we've been working with them behind the scenes, helping them look at engineering options and stuff like that. So I mean, very receptive. And we had a farmer call last Tuesday, and we had at one point we had 24 people engaged in it. So, and then MicroMGx, we've been working with them through the Ag Launch Program. I think Jack's come a long ways, and looking forward to where he goes, I guess. The biggest thing I think, so everybody is aware, it's a desiccant or a burn down. Unless you get the GM version, it, you know, once they get that, then it would be an in crop option.
Question on AFS, our first group. How formalized are they in their offering at this point? Sounded kind of like, well, we're going to raise some money and we think we know what the valuation is, but that didn't seem to be their area of expertise. Do they have that backup system set up, the board and that sort of thing that we would expect somebody like this to have established?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's they are not very well versed on the raise side. And so they're gonna need to lean on an investor to kind of help them with that. Um I don't know that they've shared the valuation that they're thinking about, and I think they're open to negotiations on that with the investor. Um, and so I think James has made it clear to me that he would like to have ag focused people as the investors that kind of understand what they're doing, and so I assume the board would go that direction as well, but I think that's kind of open at this point. But yeah, definitely a little bit different offering than what we're used to. You know, it's bootstrapped and going to market with a product right now. Not your super typical like VC route that we're probably more used to seeing.
The good catch though, because I mean I don't know if I agreed with their math perfectly, but whether it was a 4x from last year or a 3x or a 6.7x, I'm not sure, but either way, I mean they're growing probably as fast as they can handle at this point. So I think that's a good find and good find to bring to the group.
Does anybody have anything else that they want to hit on from tonight?
Well, I guess the other just follow up on that. Do they have a book, or what have we got from them formally to actually review and kind of build our investigation on that guy?
From AFS, we haven't gotten a lot yet. Typically we would get like a data room that would show all of the legal documents and IP and all of that stuff. But we would, you know, if we went forward with them, we'd want to request that information and kind of gather all of that.
Quick question on AFS. Is that still trademarked by Case IH? Or did they let that one drop like they let all the DMI trademarks so that it could be bought up by somebody else, like they did a couple of years ago, the old DMI ones? Advanced Farming Systems, that's been always their logo on the side of combines and tractors 10,
Right.
15 years ago.
I'm not sure. It's a good question though.
Just they're not going down the road as they get known what gets them in trouble.
I think there's also I think they maybe also need to talk to somebody about like biostimulant registrations in states is my that's my understanding, at least from working with other startups. But
Yeah.
so I kind of think that they're kind of early at this and it's their first time doing it, and they probably need some backup in a few spots.
Yeah,
Unless I missed it, have they tried anything in the northern latitudes? All the data I heard was down south.
Yeah, I think they're North Carolina based, and I think they'd be a perfect candidate for Ag Launch Accelerator incubators.
I wanted to say, Joe, that they had some trials in like the Midwest or upper Midwest last year, but I would need to see if I can find my notes on that. But yes, I think the majority of their data is in that region. Anybody else?
Just one on MicroMGx. Uh, they're not really looking to establish their own facilities, really more like licensing their technology then.
Yeah, I believe so. Spencer, do you know more on that?
Yeah, so the main active ingredient that he was talking about today will have to that's going to have a pretty big like regulatory lift, I believe. And so it's going to have to go the license route. Um, and but they have a platform that's working to discover different actives, so they plan to keep on developing actives. And I think they maybe hope to or prefer to license, but sometimes you have to bring stuff to market to give you the leverage to license. The thing that the thing about MicroMGx that I think is kind of underrated is that this this active ingredient, as a non-selective, which means it kills everything it touches, uh, and new mode of action herbicide is, I think, a pretty pretty needed in the market with the resistance that we're seeing. There's Liberty or glufosinate that I think is kind of consensus that doesn't have resistance, but there's a few cases possibly that people think may be resistant. And then there's paraquat that has like huge health issues surrounding it and whether it's even going to be allowed to be used anymore. And outside of that, I think it's like, well, there's not a lot left. And so we don't want farmers going back to spraying diesel fuel on the field before they plant. So pretty needed. And I think that is recognized when he had said like they shopped this to 3 different majors and they got 3 offers. And so they've picked the one they thought is the best deal and they're working through the joint development to try to get to the licensing step. Yeah, John, hopefully it works when um hopefully it works when it's cold out, to be a burn down for oats.
Well, this is post-emergence applied. So most of those crops are going to, or the weeds are going to be up a ways. So they might be, if it's a rapid action.
So some of this terminology, I don't know um if everyone's got it exactly right, but this it doesn't have soil residual, but you're not spraying it after the crop has emerged because it will kill the crop. So the weed has to be emerged, but not the crop.
Yes, unless they get the transgenic option figured out. So then you would be able to spray in crop. Otherwise, yes, it'll kill whatever it hits.
Yeah. Which they also have identified that gene, I think, in I'm not sure if it's corn or soybeans. So, but that is again a major regulatory hurdle. So can't be done by a MicroMGx.
Okay. Well, anything else from anyone on the call? If not, we'll give you your evening back. I really appreciate the people that joined and asked questions. I think it's beneficial for everyone and the startups that pitch to us. So any feedback, please check out the survey that we send out. So I'll hang around for a while too if anyone has any additional questions, but thank you again for joining.
Thanks.
Thank you. Hey, Jordan.
Yeah.
Nasser here.
Yeah. Hey, Nasser.
Hey, thanks for the invitation to join. This was the first call I joined, after the session there, Ag Ventures Alliance session. So
Yeah.
I was going to ask you this one-on-one, but since you said you're hanging around, if no one else has questions, I'll take the opportunity to ask. How do you collectively or individually come to a investment decision? And I know you said you form. Thanks for going through the slides at the beginning.
Yeah.
But so is it through the survey that you then get consensus around an investment or who's interested and kind of the total amount, or maybe walk me through that if you don't mind, the process?
Yes. Yeah, good question. And we should probably talk through that at some point as well. But yeah, so I rely on the surveys quite heavily to understand the interest that we have from the group. Some people don't do the surveys, they'll just call us or send us an email and say, hey, I'm definitely interested with this amount. But we do rely on that. And what we do then is we gather the total dollars and interest that we have. That number has to be at least 50,000 before we'll say we're gonna form an entity then to make an investment. So anything above that, we'll be working to move forward with an investment. And in some cases, some people we go back and forth with a lot of different questions before they make a decision and do some more research and things like that. But
Yeah, and then appreciate that. And sorry, I don't mean to hog the conversation, but in terms of diligence, right? I know there was a question somebody asked, did we have access to a book or a data room or something? Is that normal? And again, sorry, I'm coming to this cold, it's first pitch, first time I'm seeing some of these companies. So do you normally either have access to, and you may already be familiar because you've worked with the companies before, but in general, do you have access to additional data, or do you count on another lead investor or anything like that? I'm just thinking about to what extent I would want to satisfy my own questions versus, oh, it's here, go read up on it or go ask them. Is there a venue to ask? That's kind of my question.
yeah, so I'll answer it, and Spence, you can add anything that I miss. But we do sort of rely on the individual investor to do their due diligence. We definitely will help as much as we can with that. And a lot of times, if Ag Ventures has already made an investment in the company, we have already done some level of due diligence and might have a lot of the information already. And so we can help convey that and share the information. But it's really, we're willing to get as much info as the individual asks for. And some people don't ask for much, and some people want to know a lot more information, and so we kind of tailor it that way.
Okay. Oh, Spencer, you gonna add something?
Yeah, I think the thing I would add is that it is very definitely variable because but almost always there's probably another lead investor that already kind of set the terms for the round. In this case, we had one that isn't. And in some cases, rarely, Ag Ventures will be a lead investor. But with our check size, we're not normally leading rounds and we're following also. But we still do. We've got 2 full-time people doing due diligence and taking calls with startups. So we do a lot. But I would say it could be any of those situations where there's an existing lead we're following. Ag Ventures could be a lead where we would have the due diligence we create, or there could be no lead, and then we would probably like I don't know if we've actually done one of these. I think the only times we just did this with Grip, where Ag Ventures put in combined our check with some angels, and we were the lead investor and went through the diligence and all that.
Okay. All right. All right.
Hey guys, I got a question for you. Thank you for the presentations tonight. On the Green Acres milling, have you guys heard any updates on that?
Yeah.
What's a kind of a top line on that?
So they're still moving forward with the project as planned.
Yeah.
There's a few grants that I know, one that they thought they were going to get that they might not get now, and then there's another one that's still kind of in limbo.
Pending. Yeah.
But they have workarounds for that, and so they're starting the project here, I think, quite soon in Albert Lee as far as construction goes.
Breaking ground. Yeah, that's what I had sort of heard, but I hadn't checked in with Landon.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So they'll be
Okay.
doing dirt work and then starting the structures this fall through the winter, with hopes to be up and running by next early summer.
All right. And then I saw what was the total round was something over 100. The member contribution for Ag Ventures was something over 100. Does that sound about right?
I can pull it up here.
No, I was just curious, did the co-op itself also put in money separately from that? From the member?
We did.
You guys did. Okay.
We did. We put 50,000 in for the co-op.
So the co-op put in 50, and then the members put in another, I don't know, 100 or so.
Yeah.
Or was it?
So we joined in with the Countryside Angels Syndicate for a total of 117.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that math sounds about right. Yeah. And what was the top line for I'm sorry I couldn't make the annual meeting, but what were sort of the highlights from that? If you have good attendance?
Attendance was kind of flat, even with last year. But and we do have the videos posted on YouTube, so
good.
You haven't missed anything yet, John.
Okay, good. Good.
But
Hey, John, I don't have a comparison or context. This was the first time I went there a couple of weeks ago. I really enjoyed it. I loved the session.
Good.
I loved the interactions with the startups and with the farmers. It was like, for me, it was fantastic.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. Thanks, Nasser. All right, I'm going to ring off. Thanks, guys. Thanks again. Good to see you there, Mark.
All right. Have a good evening, guys.
Yep. You too.
Thanks.
Bye.
All right. I think that
sounds good. Good job, Jordan. Thanks.
Yep. Thanks for your help. We'll see y'all later.